So, before I get started, I just want to let you guys know my phone got taken away. So, you know, that's why I haven't posted like as fast as I wanted to. And for like the rest of this week, so from Saturday to next Saturday, I'm gonna be posting different what ifs to see which one you guys like most, and then I'll just continue those ones. And I'm not doing them every day because then that's just gonna be a bunch of random what ifs. So I'm probably gonna do like one, stop a day, do another one, or like just whatever, you know, just to test to see if you like what you guys like or whatnot. And this is what if Naruto was Lloyd's reincarnation. So, for those of you who don't know who Lloyd is, he's from the anime. Suppose a kid from the dungeon boonies like moved to a starter town, and pretty much he's just so broken and super OP, and he has this like presence. Whenever people sense his presence, it's like this white tiger. So I couldn't find the exact white tiger like they used for his presence, so I had to improvise. So please don't judge the editing if it looks weird. But yeah, let's get started. So throughout Naruto's whole life, he has been an outcast for being the Nine-Tailed Fox. But he would always train by himself, even though he always thought it would be better to train with people. But you know, since no one liked him, he had to improvise. And he would usually run to the forest and throw kunai at trees to try to hit the exact mark, his exact mark that he had placed on these trees. He never really paid it much attention, but he was very fast. And he didn't expect himself to be this fast. But he just thought of it as a good thing, or he was just born that fast. Which he wouldn't be necessarily wrong. And one day, he decides to pull another prank. He's around 6 years old. So, after the prank was pulled, the villager that he pulled the prank on had enough. So then, they would begin chasing him. And Naruto was outrunning the villager because Naruto's way faster. And he knew it would come in handy one day. And as he's getting chased, he sees that the villager is calling out to more people. And the more people he calls out to, the more people join the mob. And soon they're yelling at him, calling him a demon brat. And Naruto would then make a sharp turn, not paying attention to where he had just turned into. He had realized he was in a closed-off alleyway. And the only way to get out was back through where the mob was chasing him. And he started bolting towards the exit, but it was too late. They had already made it to the exit before he could leave. So all he could do was back up. And when he looked at them, he seen them all with their metal rods and poles. But he seen them all with their metal rods. I keep saying pods and poles, and they begin to like drag the poles on the ground or against the walls. And one of the villagers became bold enough to swing their pole down onto Naruto. But he stopped right above his head, frozen in pure fear, as this presence, Naruto's presence was too much for them to handle. As they would all slowly look up to see the face of a white tiger with golden yellow eyes beaming down into the, just glaring at them. They could almost hear the growls as it would then roar, making most of the villagers there drop dead, and the others would run, barely making it out with their lives. And Naruto had passed out from pure shock and fear that he was going to die. But when he wakes up in that same alleyway with a couple of dead villagers. And he was confused. He didn't know if he did this or not. And when he would leave, people weren't even glaring at him anymore, because they thought they had bigger problems to worry about. As they know Naruto's the Nine-Tailed Fox, but the presence that they seen wasn't of a fox, it was of a tiger. So this scared them half to death, and the others to death. So they told all the villagers about it, and the villagers no longer worry about Naruto. And they would tell him, they would tell Hiruzen about how they seen the white tiger, and they believe it was trying to protect the Nine Tails. And no, they're not referring to Naruto, they're referring to the actual Nine Tails this time. That, you know, the one still inside Naruto. That one. But Naruto would just continue on his way and, you know, just continue training for the rest of his, like, couple of years until he turned 12. So 6 years. 6 more years have passed. So after these 6 years, Naruto would have been late to class. And as soon as he walks in, he is met with a glare from Sasuke. As in this time, Naruto's actually the second in class, as he's not too smart yet, but he's really strong. There's only one person he hasn't beat because he hasn't been able to fight him, and that's Sasuke. But today, they knew it would be different, and they would determine who was actually the best in the class. So, they sit down and are being taught off. And they are being taught by Aruka. And Aruka Sensei would tell them that they were going to start the spars. As he would take the class outside, all the other kids would spar first, leaving the last spar between Naruto and Sasuke. They would stare at each other as they would walk around in circles. And Sasuke would begin to charge at Naruto. And Naruto hates Sasuke so much, so he just wants to embarrass him. So Naruto starts like releasing some of his aura, making Sasuke drop to the ground. But through sheer anger of not wanting to lose to Naruto, he would start to push himself back up. And Naruto would be surprised, as usually this is enough to make people just like pass out. But Sasuke's still getting up. But he doesn't want to apply more because it might actually kill him. So he just dashes at him as he weaves hands on and say, "Tiger Claw." And around his hand will glow a bright white. And he would slash upwards, leaving a trail of, like, a slash trail, pretty much. And this would send Sasuke far into the air, as Naruto would crouch down and launch himself up into the air, and like doing a backflip kick right into like the heel of his foot landed right on the top of Sasuke's head, launching him right back into the ground. And when Naruto he would fall down and land next to Sasuke. He would look down at Sasuke and see Sasuke was pretty much like about to pass out. He could barely keep his eyes open. So Naruto was gonna walk out, just walk away, but Sasuke would grab his leg, as he would start like weaving hands on it after he like let it go, and he would like utter fireball jutsu, and then he launched the fireball at Naruto, and Naruto instinctively just slapped at the fireball. He doesn't know why, he just slapped it, but it dispersed. He didn't expect that to happen. As he would look at his hands, not even knowing his own strength. And Sasuke would be shocked. But that expression on his face wouldn't last long, as he would then pass out. Now, I'm going to do a time skip to after the graduation test, because, like canon, Naruto fails for the only reason that it's like he doesn't, like, he knows how to do the clone jutsu, but for some reason it doesn't come easy to him since he hasn't practiced it. But like the tiger claw that he practiced it for the 6 years he was training, so he had eventually got it down and got it like to its perfected state. But for the shadow clone, well, for the clone jutsu, he couldn't really do it because he didn't really practice that much. And then he eventually stole the scroll, learned the shadow clone jutsu, and just for no, never mind. But he learned the shadow clone jutsu and a couple of other jutsu. Most of these had to do with fangs or claws because he's obsessed with these. And then Mizuki would catch up to Naruto and have the same talk with Naruto. But Naruto wouldn't faze Naruto. And then when Mizuki threw the shuriken, Naruto would dash up to it, catch it, and do a 180, launching it backwards at Mizuki. And it would hit him right in his stomach, making him fall out of the tree. Then Iruka would get there, take Mizuki away, and Naruto would perform the Shadow Clone Jutsu in front of Iruka after begging him to give him a second chance on the test right now, as they spoke. So Iruka, finally gave in. Naruto passed. He's a ninja now. Then he gets assigned to Team 7, like normal. He gets assigned to Team 7, and they begin the bell test after introductions and whatnot. So, the next day, Naruto's pretty early because he doesn't want to not be able. He wants to be able to see Kakashi and fight him first. But Kakashi comes late, normal. And then he tells him to start the bell test. Naruto charges in, lunging at Kakashi, doing a flying monkey kick. But Kakashi would dodge out of the way. And Naruto would land on the ground and launch himself back at Kakashi, throwing a punch to the face that Kakashi was able to deflect. And then Kakashi would meet Naruto with an uppercut that Naruto just barely was able to block. But it sent him flying into the air. As Naruto would then sit down and weave hand signs, and he would say, "Fire style." Barrel. Hold on. Fire style, fire thing. As he would grow chakra fangs from his mouth, and they would be enveloped with fire, and he would start spinning. As the pure heat from the jutsu and as much chakra as he put into it, it was leaving a trail of fire, as almost as if he was a wheel made of fire. As he was spinning down, Kakashi would then yell out, "Water style, water dragon jutsu," as the dragon would then envelop Naruto. But Naruto could be seen still spinning, and his fire still burning bright. Until Naruto would scream out, and Kakashi could have sworn he seen a white tiger, a massive white tiger, appear behind where Naruto was standing. As the flames would then turn a bright blue, and he would shred through the water dragon as if he was the water and the dragon was the fire. And the water dragon would disperse, and Naruto would land a direct hit on Kakashi, sending him flying back into the river that Kakashi had done the 1,000 years of death to Naruto. But Kakashi would get up, and he would see Naruto dashing at him at immense speed. He was just barely able to block a swipe from Naruto. But Naruto wouldn't let up, as he would then flip his body, like, he would basically he would flip his body in a 90 angle degree in midair, kicking the back of Kakashi's head. Like how soccer players, how they do that flip kick with the soccer ball or the football, however you guys prefer, or whatever you guys prefer. But he would kick Kakashi in the back of the head, making him stumble. And when Naruto would land back on the ground, he would turn around and say, "Win style, jail pose." And he would just thrust his palm into Kakashi, and plus the air on top of it sent Kakashi flying. And Naruto would then jump back in the air and yell out, "Fire style, fire fang." And he would start spinning once more. Kakashi didn't know how he gained so much momentum to spin like this. But Naruto would land on the ground and he would start zipping over towards Kakashi. And Kakashi decided to copy the jutsu. Lifting up his Sharingan, he would weave hand signs faster than the eye can see, and he would yell out, "Fire style, fire fang," as he also began spinning. They would clash, Kakashi pushing Naruto back, but then Naruto would feel a push, as his eyes became a bright yellow. So he could, but this wasn't him. It was Kurama, but being influenced by the white tiger's presence, his eyes became yellow instead of the dark red they usually become. Because when there's two spirits inside of you that are massively angry, the stronger one probably takes over the other one's influence. It seems logical to me. So Naruto would then push straight past Kakashi, sending him flying into the air. And this would make Kakashi activate the two Tomoe. And he would then start weaving hand signs once more, using almost all of his chakra up into a water-style water dragon jutsu. This would clash with Naruto, sending him flying in the air, as Kakashi would then appear behind Naruto, kicking him into the ground. And then he would appear under Naruto, and he would weave some more hand signs, yelling out, "Mud style, mud wall," as the mud wall would then collide with Naruto's ribs, fracturing them and sending him into the air, and he would collapse on the ground. Naruto would look up at Kakashi, who was standing over him, and he would smile, as the shadow clones would emerge from each side of the woods surrounding Kakashi. There was at least 20 of them, and they would all start doing the fire fang jutsu, spinning around Kakashi. And when Kakashi was attacked, he would jump into the air, and the rest would jump after him. Kakashi was grabbing them and launching them away or kicking them out of his way, but he was managing, as he didn't get hit. And when he landed on the ground, he would look up at his hands, look down at his hands, and see that they were burnt. Them joints was like how when he did the Rasengan versus the Rasen Shuriken clash. Yeah, that's what his hands looked like. And he would then hear a jingling. So when he would look down, he would see the bells were gone, and one of Naruto's shadow clones were holding them. So he would scold Naruto for not letting Sasuke nor Sakura in the plan, but he would commend him on his strength. And he would also scold Sakura and Sasuke for not jumping in, because Naruto could have lost the fight, but he didn't, luckily. So, well, he did lose the fight, but he got the bells. So, a win's a win. Naruto began to walk home, holding his ribs as they were still in pain. And he would hear leaves rustling or falling. And he would look up behind him, and there would be two Anbu standing in the trees. They would jump down and stare at Naruto, saying, "Lord Danzo wants to see you." Naruto would then reply with, "I don't care. I don't know who he is, and honestly, I just want to go home and lay down." So he would continue walking, but then they would appear in front of him, saying, "We weren't asking." As the one with the red tattoo on his arm would then punch Naruto. His fist would collide directly with Naruto's forehead, but Naruto would just look up at him, saying, "Is that really all?" As he would then grab his arm, pull him close, and kick him in his stomach, sending him flying into a tree, snapping the tree like a twig. The girl would then try to sweep Naruto's legs, but Naruto would jump up, not too high, just enough so he could be eye level with her, and slam his foot right back down onto her leg, snapping it. As he would then yell, "Fire style, fire fang," and he would bite into her shoulder, letting her shoulder burn, and her herself would eventually be engulfed in flames. As the male Anbu would appear behind Naruto with several kunai in his hand, and he would launch them at the back of Naruto's head, no longer caring if Danzo wants to see him, because Naruto just killed his partner and his wife. But Naruto would dodge most of the kunai, grabbing another one, turning around, and stabbing him in his knee before taking a kunai off his pouch and slitting his throat. Naruto, soaked in blood, wouldn't even care, as he would walk home, and then drop down on his bed, still soaked in blood. And he would have a dream, almost, where he was in this dark room, and when he walked in, he would see the nine-tailed fox. And he would begin talking with the fox. But the fox obviously didn't want to be in his presence, which would anger Naruto. But Naruto would begin to walk off as he stopped in his tracks. From the darkness, away from the cage, he could tell there was something in there. He felt something. As a white paw would emerge from the darkness and it would walk up to Naruto and stare him in his eyes before jumping into Naruto's body, waking him up. Naruto would look around to see where he was. He was in his room, and it was still night. So, he lay down, staring at the ceiling, and he would look at his hands. For some reason, he felt weird. Not like a bad kind of weird. He felt stronger. He didn't know why, but he just knows he does. Well, he just knows he is.